Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Urbanmech. So, uh, from Sarna.net, the Urbanmech was designed for just what its name suggests: urban combat and defense, and maybe class as a ambusher. This was achieved by starting with a cheap, easily produced chassis, giving it 6 tons of Duralex armor to rival the protection found on many medium battle mechs, and mounting a pair of Pitbull 6,000 jump jets for a jumping distance of 60 meters. The trade off was that it could only mount the miserable Lennox 60 engine, making the Urban Mech the slowest light mech in existence, with a cruising speed of 21.6 kilometers an hour, the top speed of only 32.4 kilometers an hour. This was a severe disadvantage if the mech attempted to fight in open country, something for only the foolish or desperate, but offset by the fact that fighting in close confines of a Star League city left little room to maneuver anyways, and the urban mech, with a low profile, made it difficult to target. Thus, the mech was primarily used for fighting guerrillas and other light mechs in an urban environment. An arena where it also achieved some success fighting medium and even some heavy mechs. Standard tactics for an urban mech lance was to split up into its constituent parts and occupy various buildings in order to snipe the enemy before falling back to the next defensive line. Large numbers of urban mechs were produced by the Orgeros Orgus Industries from 2675 until the destruction of their assembly lines. The urban mech re-entered production at the Betelgeuse facility in Hell's Point Industries during the Jihad, and continued to be manufactured up through 3149. As such, urban mechs could be found in all of the armies of the successor states. However, most military leaders saw the slow little mech a liability, confining their stockpiles to garrison duty or stripping them of parts. This dismissive attitude toward the urban mech saved it from the ravages of the succession wars and ensured its continued use in the 31st century. The Capellian Confederation remained the largest and only user of urban mechs to actually deploy them in frontline duty. As a result of the devastation of the Fourth Succession War, and their desperation for any mech to replenish their losses, the Confederation Reserve Cavalry and Capellian Defense Force had the lion's share of urban mechs, followed by the Tikhoff Republic Guard and the St. Ives Armored Cavalry. Outside of the Confederation and Federated Sons, Capellian March Militia fielded the largest numbers of urban mechs due to the fact it was composed of large amounts of captured Capellian equipment. Its prominence within the Confederation meant the urban mech was among those mechs with the CCAF to receive upgrades following the recovery of lost tech. The other states followed suit with much less priority over improving the mechs, despite their sheer cost necessary to replenish the Urban Mech's engine and increase its top speed meant even the Confederation limited their refit packages to improve the weapons and armor only at some point. The common mech earned a cocktail to its name, a testament to the desperation of the word of Blake Jihad. Hell's Point Industries would reactivate a shuttered production facility on Betelgeuse to produce the Urban Mech alongside primitive retro tech designs uh, for material starved, compelling garrison forces. This plant would maintain production of the Urban Mech in a steadily increasing volume for configurations throughout the Dark Age era, as the CCAF secretly expanded before it waged war against the Republic of the Sphere. Rather than dramatic and expensive enhancements, Hellspot's new variants retain the vulnerable design's low ground speed urban mech focus and can be applied as refit as readily as new production. Okay, looking at the weapons and equipment here, the Urban Mech packs a powerful punch for its size. The standard version carries an Imperator BAC-10 in its right arm and a Harmon Light small laser in the left arm for suppressing infantry, as well as a backup weapon. With these two weapons, the Urban Mech can consistently harass, or if piloted by an experienced enough mech warrior, down mechs up to twice its own size. A single ton of ammo for the autocannon located in the right torso leaves little endurance for a prolonged fight, though it fits in perfectly with the hit and run nature of the mechs one way or another. Most observers agree the Urban Mech is good for about 2 minutes of combat. All right, so variants. We have the R27. This model drops a heatsink and all weapons from the R60. In their place are three SRM6s in the arms, benefiting from accurator enhancement. The 3 tons of reloads are protected with case. We have an R50. This is a variant without arms. The idea was to give the mech a smaller silhouette in combat. However, the drawbacks of having no arms turned out to be greater than the benefits. This particular variant is generally regarded as a failure. Only very few units have this subvariant survived into 3025. We have the R60L, generally associated with the Compelling Confederation, with who have modified a few of their urban mechs in this fashion. The R60L is an upgrade to make the urban mech twice as deadly deadly as the R60 version. The L sacrifices 2 tons of armor, allowing it to replace the Imperial AC-10 with an Imperator Zeta AC-20 that is capable of downing most light mechs and severely damaging most medium mechs in a single salvo. Besides the thinner armor, this modification comes with a very limited ammunition supply, which made it unpopular. We have the R63. This is an official upgrade kit for the Compelling Confederation urban mechs, distributed for field modification since before 3050. It replaces the AC-10 with a Midron XL LB 10X AC version and retains the small laser, but adds a Magna 200p small pulse laser. All right. We're looking at the R68. Eschews the autocannon. This Draconis Combine variant carries an MRM-30 with 2 tons of ammo, while still carrying the lasers of the R63 variant. The added damage potential proved a nasty surprise to Clan Ghost Bear during the Combine Ghost Bear War. The R69. This Free Worlds League variant upgrades the autocannon to a UAC-10 and a laser to an ER small laser. This is also made possible by upgrading to 5 tons of ferrofibrous armor and the removal of one heatsink. While the Ultra class autocannon provides superior firepower, it can also eat through that single ton of ammunition at an alarming rate. We have the R70. The Federated Suns R70 model is an upgrade to the greater potential than the R63 by using ferrofibrous armor and mounting a rotary AC-5. Fed by 2 tons of ammunition for backup weapons, it carries an ER medium laser and an ER small laser. We have the R80. This variant carries a snub-nosed PPC, a small pulse laser, a TAG unit, a Beagle active probe, and a Guardian ECM suite. It retains the small laser of the standard Urbanmech as well. Improved jump jets help the Urbanmech move around the city. It defends more effectively. We have the AIV. This variant of the Urbanmech replaces the standard weaponry with an Arrow 4 missile launcher and medium laser. It requires an endosteel chassis and small cockpit to provide room. The Urbanmech can only carry 10 rounds of the Arrow system. Despite these limitations, it is still a decent fire support unit. Notably, it can be used to launch nuclear tipped Arrow 4 missiles. Yeesh. All right, we have the R90 Suburban Mech. This redesign was created by Hans Davian as a way to reduce the power of the Michael Hesk Davian by fixing AFFS, trying to say that correctly, supply lines. The Suburban Mech, if I can speak this morning, is visually identical to an Urban Mech, but has a larger engine and allows it to reach a 54 kilometers an hour. The autocannon is replaced with a single PPC and two medium lasers. The small laser remains in place, but jump range has been increased to 90 meters. 13 single heat sinks struggle to dissipate the heat um, when an alpha strike is done. This variant first appeared in the Battle Technology issue 18, created by Craig Reed and Robert Madison, and was picked up in 2019 Urban Warfare expansion for the Battletech video game by Harebrained Schemes before being properly canonized through the Shrapnel magazine issue number 4. All right. We have the R93. First appeared in 3030 or 3130, the compelling Confederation Dark Age era upgrade of the Urban Mech carries a plasma rifle, medium laser, and small laser. Additionally, it carries 12 tons of hardened armor, which, while making it as tough as many medium mechs, reduces its already slow speed even further. We have the R96, another field refit developed by uh, Chronic Tinkerer, Jord Wing in 3149. The R96 is an evolution of the R80, which features the wings of a R93 refit. The R80 Snubnose PPC serves as the R96's main weapon, supported by a small X pulse laser, reducing its logistics need. The weight saved allowed the use of the R93's hardened armor shell for enhanced protection at the cost of speed. This is partially offset with the addition of 3 improved jump jets, giving the new model a 90-meter range. And then, last but not least, of the official variants here, we have the R100 Suburban Mech, a variant proposed during the clan invasion, but ultimately never put into production because of the high cost and the clan invasion. The Suburban Mech would have used 120 rated engine to reach a running speed of 64 kilometers an hour and jump 4 or and Power 4 jump jets. 10 double heat sinks were to be installed, and the PPC would be swapped with an extended range model. But the rest of the weaponry matched the R90 variant. 6.5 tons of armor would be carried. All right, I'm not going to get into the other ones. These are not considered canon. These are other like MechWarrior Online, Solaris Showdown expansion, and the like. Uh, Design quirks: extended torso twist, narrow, low profile, um, either no arms or minimal arms. Now, one of the other things I really want to say on this, because something has not been mentioned that was originally brought up in the original books. Um, because of it using a kind of generic design, even though that they had tried putting bigger engines into it, but the chassis itself just would never allow it to go faster. So it's funny reading that they had actually increased the speed by throwing a larger engine in there. Uh, so it, to me, it's a conflict. Originally, it was always said that it could never really get faster because of the way the chassis was. It just refused to go faster. So they just left it with the smaller engine that it has and kind of went from there. As we're looking at our first picture here, and I believe this one is from Dwayne Luce as he gets us started here in 3025 and 3050. This is the nice picture that we have here by Joel Bisk and Jim Nelson. So with that being said, I mean, I'm not against anyone throwing a larger engine in here and saying yes, it can now go faster. That's never going to be an issue with me. Um, Nice picture here by Brent Evans, uh, but it does break the original lore of the machine. Now, maybe it's an upgraded version of it, and they're using a slightly better chassis that allows them to do it. And you could always argue that, and I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna bash anyone for speeding it up. That was always the fun part of BattleTech. You could take something, tinker with it, and just make it your own personal design. Um, but as we put it into this as a role playing game, I'm putting it in as just a stock base. It doesn't mean that you couldn't go through, and if you're running it in the role playing game sense in a D6 like this, that you can't upgrade it yourself anyways and have fun with it. That's the beautiful thing of role playing games. We can always just upgrade things, tinker with it, whatever else. Um, you know, that's what makes them so popular, especially with, in my view, pen and paper, because we can do things that you don't have to worry about someone programming stuff in here to be able to do it. We can just do it. All right, going through, so we have Ben Myers, and even on the last one, which I didn't name, say who had done it, you know, everyone's been doing a very nice job at getting all these made, um, drawn up and all that. They look very, very nice. This is more of like a cardboard cutout that we would have used. And on the flip side, it would have been a reverse image of this, but it all been blacked out on the card stock, so that way we could use it as a token for our mech. And this is by Doug Schuller. Um, and we have some in combat versions of it. There's memes of this. It's essentially an egg with legs and guns, and they're not wrong. It's an interesting mech design. It's got that one purpose. It did it fairly well, but it's because it ran into its own design flaws. So, uh, it's honestly, I think I really like how this one is kind of done up, done a little bit better, maybe. So Alex Inglis, and of course, then we get our miniature. Uh, let's see here, and then we have some missile variants, I believe. If we can get this up. Oh, it's a plushie. There we go. Because everybody needs to snuggle up with an urban mech. And last but not least, we have, oh my goodness, missing an artist. I don't know if this is, yeah, inflatable for Gen Con in 22. That is wonderful. Uh, it's great to see. I mean, it's kind of iconic, so it fits. It really does. All right. With that being said, let's get on over to our D6 stats and go from there. All right, so as we can see, we don't have a huge amount of stats here, but it is very fitting for what we have. So this is, of course, going to be at Walker scale because we're keeping everything roughly at Walker scale. Crew of one, it's 30 tons, so trying to have our tonnage in here. Where when we originally started this whole little campaign on doing the BattleTech, I was putting like the size here. I think it's not so much of the size, but let's just keep in mind of how many tons we have. So, of course, we have no extra passengers available. Cargo space is going to be 25 kilograms. Our cost is 1,471,925 seabills. Our altitude is range is ground. Let's see, maneuverability is a 2D plus 2. And that's going off of our new system here where I'm taking our weight plus our actual speed. Because the urban mech is so slow, it really doesn't get a bonus out of the speed that we would normally get. So, where the lighter mechs really have a high maneuverability, we'll start seeing that maneuverability dropping down with some of the bigger mechs. Our movement has a top speed of 32.4 kilometers an hour, a jump speed or a jump distance of 60 meters. Our body strength is going to be 3D because it is at 30 tons, and it actually has 96 armor points. All right, and our weapons here. We have the AC-10, uh, keeping a fire control of 2D, and then damage is 7D plus 2. Has 10 rounds of ammo. So, yeah, it's very limited as to what it can do. It can run out of ammo fairly quickly. We do have a small laser to help try and offset that. Not that it's doing a lot, but still the fire control of 2D and damage is 4D. So it is something to help defend itself, but not the greatest. Now, I will say this: if we're really worrying about that small laser for infantry, maybe what we should do is we should actually drop that down to um, either speed or scale or something like that. Because if I'm trying to hit infantry with a small laser at a Walker scale, remember I'm losing 4 dice to try and hit. So if that's going to be my anti-infantry laser, I think we might want to drop that down. I'll leave that to you if that's what you wish to do. But remember, as we drop our fire control down, or our fire, yeah, because we're at Walker scale, as the fire control goes down, our damage is going to go up. So our damage would be 8D. So we can easily just change that for whatever we want. If we want that to be at speeder scale, our fire control probably should be like a 4D. Um, and then damage is going to be a 6, or well, even if we kept the fire control at 2D, our damage would be 6D. So just keeping it at that point. So, it's, I mean, like I said before, it's kind of an egg shaped mech, very basic. It's been upgraded. And, when we sit here and say in the upgraded versions, they're producing a new chassis for it. And yeah, maybe you upgrade the chassis so it can handle the faster speeds. But I think if you're going to be running around in, say, like a 30-25 scenario, um, I think in that regard, I think you're going to want them to go a little slower, because that's the way the chassis was originally written. That it was, even though they tried throwing a bigger engine in there, it just couldn't go for whatever the reason. So they just kind of dropped it and said, "This is what we have, and we'll put in some nice big engines in there." So, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's wonderful having you here. Hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.